All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Expanding Boundaries International Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Emilie Grecula, EBI's Public Relations Manager, and I'm here with Victoria Escalante, and she's going to share her study abroad experiences in Barcelona, Spain in the fall of 2019. She currently attends the University of North Texas in Denton, and this May she'll be graduating with her Bachelor's of Arts in Dance. She's also a first-generation college student and will be the first in her family to graduate from college. So we are very excited to have her.
Yay! Thank you so much, Emily. I'm so excited to be here today. And just talk about some study abroad things. Emily actually visited me while I was studying abroad. She visited me for about a week in Barcelona, and so I'm really excited that we're doing this together.
Yeah, we get to share both of our experiences. You were there for a lot longer than I was, though. I only got to be there for a little week and kind of get a little tidbit. But what started you? What was your why did you want to study abroad?
Let's see. I'll kind of get into it. So it was my first year in college. I was a freshman in college, and this was my first semester. And I remember walking around campus. I was probably walking to class or something, and I saw like a little flyer on campus for a study abroad fair. And I was like, oh my God, I like immediately knew, I was like, oh, I have to go to this. And it's not like I went into college with the intention of like wanting to do a study abroad program. That was not any idea at all that I had, or like any plan that I had, like, oh, I want to go to college and then do a study abroad at some point. But when I saw that flyer, I just knew, like, of course, yeah, I would love to go to this, to the study abroad fair. So I went, and there was a lot of different programs that were present there. They all had like their different booths and stuff like that. And they're just all like information booths. And I ended up walking up to this one. It was AIFS, which is American Institute of Foreign Study. And, I was just talking to the lady there, and she was just telling me some things about their program. And, she gave me some handouts and things about AFS, and AFS was an affiliate with my university at the time. So once I got all those flyers and stuff, I ended up going home and just doing kind of like some research on what program I would want to do.
So did you do all the research yourself, or did you get any like mentorship help or anything like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time I was a business major. And so this is the way AIFS works. I'm not really sure how other programs work. And mind you, there's different ways to study abroad. You have, in my case, AIFS was an affiliate organization. And then you also have study abroad programs that are with the university. Like the university has their own study abroad programs. Like they'll have a department or something, travel to an overseas country, and it's completely funded and touched by the university. But in my case, AFS was a third party was an affiliate. So the way they had their program organized was that depending on your major or what kind of classes you were going for, certain destinations had those programs and those classes. So I just kind of looked up what destinations had their business classes and the classes that I was looking for, since I was a business major at the time. And so I just looked at a list of those, and I can't remember all of them, but obviously Barcelona was one of the ones on there. And I just ended up choosing Barcelona. I didn't really know, have any preconceived idea about it or anything specific. I was just like, oh my God, this looks like, I just seen some pictures of it, and I was like, this looks like such a beautiful city. Like, I have to go. I just have to.
It definitely was beautiful.
Such a beautiful city.
Amazing. I mean, and then you went to so many other places too, though, but we'll get into that. So the process of studying abroad and doing all of that, did you apply for any scholarships, or did you do it all on your own?
Yeah. So the way that happened, wow. So, you had asked me earlier if I, sought mentorship or anything. I really, I did this whole thing by myself, and like looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot believe I just went full head first into this, not knowing anything and not knowing anybody that had I just really navigated the whole thing myself.
No, that's great. That's awesome.
it's insane looking back at it because there was like so much involved, and it is a bit of a process. And
it's a lot of paperwork.
it is a lot of paperwork, exactly. And so, as far as like, scholarships and funding and all, I did apply for a scholarship within the College of Business at my school that I was able to receive. So that also was able to go towards my study abroad. But aside from that, my financial aid covered like my program costs, which was really nice. I think that's one of the reasons that I was, like, okay, yeah, I can do the study abroad thing, was because I realized that financial aid covered the program costs. And in a lot of ways, the program cost was about the same as a full semester at my university. So it was like, it wasn't much more, I think the only thing that had really cost more at that time was like, how much you're going to budget for traveling and living expenses. But
that is really good to know that most of the like links and the ways to go about getting it covered were through your own university. So
yeah,
it wasn't something you had to do separately.
Exactly. And AFS, it was nice because, again, like I said, they were an affiliate with my university. So a lot of things like, there wasn't, I didn't have to do so much work in areas like that because, my financial aid just went on over. And then, any refund that I got from my financial aid, I was able to put towards towards my living expenses. So the only thing I really had to
Very
pay
nice.
out of pocket was just like my plane ticket and obviously those other living expenses.
Yeah, food, and if you wanted to go anywhere else and
Exactly.
enjoy the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And so, what would you say was your first, like, maybe shock when you finally landed in Barcelona? You finally got there, you finally did all the paperwork. What was your first impression of the city? And then what was the first, like, this is so different from America, or,
Yeah. Wow. Gosh. So I'll kind of I'll explain it like this. When I first flew, I'm from Houston, so I flew out of Bush Intercontinental Airport. That's the like international airport there in Houston. And when I flew, I landed in London, and I spent 2 days in London. My program, I was really kind of grateful that they did it like this. So with my program, we had the choice to either choose their flight package or to just book our own flights. In my situation, I just ended up choosing the flight package because I just didn't want to have to deal with like all the scheduling. And this was my first time going abroad. Like no one in my family had ever traveled abroad like that, or had been to Europe, or even been over in another country for that long. My parents, they were born and brought up here, and so I was raised in a suburban area outside of downtown Houston. So no one in my family had ever really done this, and so
you really took the initiative. You really took the reins on that. Yeah,
and that's what I mean. Like I just didn't really have that, someone to confide in that. But so in that case, yeah, I was just like, let me just leave this ticket reservation and these flight reservations up to
the program,
because that will just be a lot easier. So I did their flight package, and their flight package came with like a 2 to 3 day stay in the UK, and I really enjoyed that because the UK, in some ways, it's very similar to the United States, and so I really enjoyed like. It was kind of like a soft, like introducing you to like culture, to the different culture, but like not as like extreme as just like going straight to Barcelona. And I really enjoyed being in London. It's such a cool city. Would definitely love to go back, and I really enjoyed seeing all the sights and Buckingham Palace. So I did 2 days in the UK, and my program, they housed us and everything there, and they had us stay in these dorms that were by a local university there. And it was nice because I also got to meet a few people before actually getting to my host country, to Barcelona. And so,
Like program people in the same program?
yes. And so, and the way AFS did it, you had people who were, I met people who were a part of my Barcelona program, but also other people who were in AIFS, but were going to different host countries as well. So it was like kind of cool. And so that was nice, but I mainly ended up meeting a lot of people because the Barcelona program with AFS is actually a pretty big program. And I believe they even talk about it on their website. It's like it's one of their biggest programs that they hold. And so, I was able to meet quite a few people in my Barcelona program, and like we went around London and stuff like that. So once I landed in Barcelona, I kind of already had a bit of a friend group, which was really nice, and I just got to talk with
That is good. It's definitely nice to have a lot of people who are studying abroad with you so that you're able to have that friend group with the entire time that you're there and be able to do things with them. But I understand what you mean about like the soft transition from the UK. It's so nice in the UK because they speak English. So that is super great. But you still get the European culture and the European mentality. And so you're getting that, they drive on a different side of the road. And
I will say there's definitely times where in London, oh my God, where my friend and I almost got ran over. What happens? Look both ways before you cross the street, everyone. But once I finally got to Barcelona, oh my God, that was a long trip from London to Barcelona. Our flight was like super early, and there was a lot of downtime and waiting. And because when we flew, it was everyone all together. They had to literally shoot us from the dorms we were staying at over there which was really nice. We were taken care of. And I think that was something that I was so grateful for with the program I chose, was that, I wasn't necessarily felt like I was just
you were on your own.
Yeah,
you were with the group. Yeah.
I didn't feel helpless at any point, or like that I was just plopped in the country and didn't have like no direction. AFS was really good at like allowing us our space and and allowing us to do what we wanted to do, but also still like having direction, like, okay, this is what we're going to do at this time so that we can get here. And so when we finally landed in Barcelona, oh my God, I just remember being so tired. But
the jet lag.
was real. The jet lag was real. But when we got on the bus that drove us from the airport into the city, I was just like, wow, like I'm really here. And
you did it.
Yeah, I could not. I was like, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know if I can curse it. I'm so sorry.
I can bleep it out.
I was like, wow, like I'm actually here. And then so the airport is a little bit outside of the city. So once we got into the city, everything was like very like condensed, and I was like, whoa, like all these buildings just so close together, and it just looked so different from what I was used to seeing back over here in the United States.
Especially Texas, I feel. Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. Everything's flat and spread out. Nothing is condensed into tiny little apartment buildings all together. Like it's. I mean, and to have even, I remember when you went to go get a wax at one point, and you went into a building, and it was like all the way like on the third floor to get your wax and everything, and I was like, what? That's so crazy, because it's not like that here.
Yeah, it's not, and it's very condensed. And I will say this, before studying abroad, even in the whole process of it, I really didn't know anything. I knew little to nothing about Barcelona, Spain. I just knew about the geographic location of it, and like that Spanish was the native tongue over there, which I can get into that later because it's definitely not the only language they speak over there in Barcelona. But I really didn't know much, and honestly, I'm actually kind of grateful I didn't go into this with like a preconceived idea about the country and the culture there, because it just kind of allowed me to experience everything from firsthand experience. Sometimes in some situations I do feel like having like expectations or a preconceived idea can can lead someone to be like disappointed. I remember when we first got off our bus to get into our apartments. I remember there was this one girl, and I think she was behind me, and I just heard her say something, and she was all like, "I thought it was gonna look nicer than this," and I was like, "What?" we just got off the bus, and it's only been 5 seconds. Like, don't judge this city yet. We've only been here for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, you have to give it a second.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
yes,
No, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I mean, it's just I understand that it's you definitely want to come to a place with your eyes wide open and have an open mind toward everything, because you never know what you're going to experience or how you're going to experience and what it will really be like once you're actually there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was really grateful for that. So I was just kind of in a bit of a state of shock, but like in the best way.
I feel like we're cutting out just a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. Have you been having connection issues at all?
You're just a little, like, your image is just like slightly like blurry, but I can hear you.
Okay. We'll keep it like that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, all I was saying was just kind of like, to answer your question, I was just kind of like in a bit of a state of shock, but in the best way possible. I was just like, wow, I'm just ready to just see what this place has to offer and experience it, to the fullest extent, and to learn, and whatever experience will await me, I'm just so excited to be able to experience.
Ready to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how else, backtracking a little bit, I remember you telling me, I don't know if it was your visa or your passport, but it came super, super last minute. Like you had to, I don't know if we had talked about this before, but I thought, did you have to get a passport beforehand? Did you not have one?
So I'll talk about that. Yeah. So, oh my God. But getting, because like I said, I had never, traveled to a different country before, so I didn't have a passport. And I will say, I feel like for me, the most overwhelming, I'm not going to say it was difficult, but it was definitely overwhelming, was getting my passport and visa. Actually, the passport was easy to get. It was the visa. That's what it was. The visa was.
It was the student visa?
It was a student
to
visa.
Study? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that was probably like the most like overwhelming process of it all, because I had never done that before. I had never, and and then you have to fill out like all this paperwork with all this like specific information and stuff like that, and it's all like this government paperwork, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm doing this right, but why am I so nervous? And so thankfully AIFS actually, again, I was really grateful that they had a lot of material. They offered a lot of material to the students in the application in these different processes. So, they had material available to me that helped me get through this whole, the process of applying for my student visa and my passport. And they did all of it for me, essentially. Like they applied, like I had to fill out the paperwork, obviously, but as far as like sending the visa off to the consulate, they did that for me. Like I just had to send it to
them.
Oh
wow.
They I'm trying to remember the word that they use. I think they like vouched for me for this visa. I want to say there might be a different word that is used, but that's basically what they did. I just had to fill out the paperwork and answer like the questions and everything. But yeah, that definitely made the process a lot more easier.
It sounds like a great program. We should definitely see if we can get in touch with them or something.
They are a really great program. Like I'm so happy with like the experience that I had with them, to be quite honest. And so yeah, but it was really, they were very, very, very helpful, and very I remember during my process of trying to, because with AIFS it was because like I said, it's an affiliate program. I feel like I've been saying that too much, but I had to, there's some classes, and this is different for everybody, but in my situation, the classes that I was going to take abroad, I had to make sure that the credit transferred to my university. Mm-hmm. And that was, aside from applying for my student visa, that process of making sure that like that my courses abroad were going to transfer, that was like a little bit more, a lot of back and forth, and communicating with my dean, and communicating with the AIFS coordinator that was assigned to my program. A lot of back and forth communication, but I was really grateful that AIFS was always like on top of it and communicating with me and like very responsive. Yeah.
I did hear that was an issue with a lot of students who studied abroad. When I went to university, they were always talking about like, oh, only half my credits transferred, so that kind of like sucked, and you have to stay a little bit longer in school sometimes. But at the same time, it's you're studying abroad, so it's kind of worth it.
It is kind of expected, but I will say like it is important to make sure your credits will transfer. Definitely. That is one thing to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. So there was no last minute crazy visa experience? I thought you had told me before, but I don't remember.
Like stressed out because it was like my first time doing all of this and I was the one doing it. In the whole process of the whole application process and doing the visa stuff and all the pre-paperwork that comes along with it, I couldn't necessarily like ask my parents for help on that. And plus I'm also a very like independent person. I take everything upon myself. So, I was just doing it all and like just navigating it and like learning the ins and outs of it. I was probably just stressed about, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to come in on time.
It's good to know for our listeners that they can do this all themselves. I mean, they don't technically need another, their parents to help out, or family who has traveled abroad before. Like this is possible for anyone.
It really is. And like, my parents are, I mean, even though
no matter who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And even though my parents I couldn't like ask them the questions, or like they didn't have the answers to the questions that I had, like they were still very supportive. And, they saw that I was like very determined and organized with this whole thing. And, I think sometimes some people are like nervous if like their parents are going to be cool with it. I mean, my parents were very fine with it. I think they just saw that I was like very determined with this, and they were like, okay, as long as you get your stuff together and you can do that, that's fine with us. You're doing it for school. It's for your education, and in the long run, like this experience is gonna help better you. And they wanted me to be able to have have that experience that they weren't able to have when they were my age. So they were very supportive.
It definitely is something that we were talking about this earlier, but something that we think everyone should have the opportunity to be able to study abroad when they're young, and in school and able to, because sometimes you get older and you just, you finally have enough money when you get older, but sometimes then you have children and then you have, life starts and it's hard.
Exactly. It is hard. And I encourage anyone in college to have that experience. And if you have the opportunity to do it, do it.
Well, let's get into when you actually arrived and, got to spend a few days or weeks in Barcelona. What were you thinking? What were you, how was it for you?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. So AIFS, they allowed us to either stay with a host family or in an apartment. I ended up opting for an apartment, only because I'm vegan, and so I didn't want to like put the host mom in the situation of having to cater to like my dietary needs like every meal, and so that was just more out of the consideration. But I was so happy with staying in an apartment, and I'll say this now, the people that you have these experiences with in your study abroad program, my roommates, who I ended up having 4 roommates in my apartment. I love those girls.
Teeny little apartment, but it held all of y'all.
Oh my God. I love them so much. And literally we still all keep in touch. We still all keep in touch and talk and keep tabs on each other. And it's those, I'm so grateful to have those relationships with them. As far as like when I got there, man, I think I'm trying to remember. Let's see. I really enjoyed just walking around the city. Those first couple weeks, I really enjoyed just walking around the city, going to get my groceries. My apartment ended up being right by Sagrada Familia. And you remember we went to mass there, correct? Right? Didn't we go to mass there?
Yeah, no, we did. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a huge, giant church in Barcelona. It's the
Beautiful.
tallest building in the city.
It really is,
And
yes. And you can see it, like it sticks out from like all the other buildings in the city if you're looking at aerial view.
oh yeah, that was amazing that you were so close to it.
Yes, and I enjoyed like I said, I enjoyed walking around the city, getting my coffee in the morning.
There was no
Having
cars, right? So you just took the metro everywhere and walked.
Yes, I had a metro card. Oh my God, the Barcelona metro system, perfect. That was my best friend. That was my best friend my entire 4 months there. I love that metro system. I felt invincible and just I can go anywhere in the city as long as I have my metro card. And the metro system, I feel like personally it's really easy to figure out. The one over there in Barcelona, my roommates also had a really easy time figuring out the metro system as well. I mean, the first week or 2 weeks, yeah, you're like kind of learning it, but like once you got it down, you got it down. Let's see, we aside from like, walking around the city and just getting a feel for, the environment and the culture there and the people, I loved going to the beach. Oh my God, so much fun. I don't think I ever had such an appreciation for the beach until I went over there to
Oh
Barcelona.
wow.
And, there's two beaches, there's Barceloneta, which is like a very touristy beach. A lot of tourists and people go there, but there's one further down the coast called Badalona Beach. And the metro goes all the way that far. So me and my
Oh wow.
roommates, we would take the metro and go to Badalona Beach. And it was so nice and peaceful. And the water, Barcelona, you remember, it's like right along the Mediterranean. So the water is so nice and just growing up in Houston, Texas, and Galveston is like right there.
Galveston is
water compared to the Mediterranean. I was so happy. I was so happy with that, and so
yeah.
loved going to the beach. La Boqueria near the Ramblas, which is like La Boqueria is like an open air market. Loved going there and just like seeing like all the different foods they had out and things like that. And I also really enjoyed like trying different going to different vegan restaurants within Barcelona. I was not expecting Barcelona to have as big of a vegan, like, I guess
I was just about to ask, yeah. It was very vegan friendly.
Yeah, no, there is quite a big vegan scene over there. There's a lot of little vegan restaurants, and I'm pretty sure there's just been more coming up like since I was last over there. But I really enjoyed like trying different like vegan foods over there. I remember I went to this one little vegan restaurant. It was called Vegetart, and I got to try their tortilla. And in Spain, a tortilla is very different from what you would see, what you envision like a Mexican tortilla. A Spanish tortilla is essentially kind of like it's like egg and potato, like, I don't know how to describe it, like a pie, not necessarily a pie, but
like
it's like
thicker though.
Yeah, it's thick.
And
so
okay.
Yeah, traditionally it's made with egg and potato, and so that was really fun getting to try like the vegan version of it, and I really enjoyed getting to know like the people over there. There's this gelato shop that I went to very often, and it was near Sagrada Familia, and the lady, her name is Patricia. She's from Verona, and she was so nice to me. I enjoyed getting to know her. Like, she started to recognize me. I would go in there so much, and I remember one time we were just talking, and she like gave me like free gelato and like a free espresso and
wow.
truffle. It was so nice, and I think that's probably one of the things that I enjoyed the most while being over there is the people. They're so personable. And even though her and I, like, I'm gonna be very honest, like, she was from Italy, and she really didn't speak that much Spanish, and she also really didn't speak very much English, but her and I were still able to communicate with each other to some degree. And so grateful for that.
That's awesome though. The people are definitely nice. I really enjoy being over there. I was actually every time I talk about Barcelona with my family or friends, I tell them Barcelona is like the perfect spot because you get the huge city, you get, the nightlife, the youngsters, you get people of all different types, and then the food, amazing. The food's like ugh. But then you also get the beach and you get the mountains and you
Mhm.
get, like you get a little bit of everything. I think honestly that was the best part because there's so many cities where you just have the city, no bodies of water or anything, or that you can swim in by any means. Like, so even in DC, you can't swim in the Potomac, which is the giant river that's flowing
Oh no,
through it.
yeah.
No.
Oh my I hear exactly what you're saying. Yeah, there's so many lifestyles to have over there. Like you have a very,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it is a city, very urban living. But yeah, you have the beach. You have all these beautiful like hills and mountains that you can go hiking. And I
That the metro takes you to.
yeah, and the metro literally will take you. And when you have a metro card, you can also, you can get on the metro and you can also get on the buses there. And the public transportation will literally take you to these places. I remember my first like I don't even think I was in Barcelona 2 weeks yet, but I did these quite often. I really enjoyed like doing these little ventures where I would just go out on my own into the city, into a certain part, and just like see what was happening.
Explore. Yeah.
And I remember one evening I did a little hike up to Mount Juic, and that was so much fun. And like just seeing like the view of the city like from above, and just like wow.
Is
Yeah.
that the one we went on together too?
Uh you're the I think the one that we went
We
to,
went to the
yes,
bunkers.
it was.
Okay.
Mount Juic or bunkers of Camara.
Yeah, that's the one we were at, the bunkers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. That was cool.
It's kind of like they're kind of like the same thing. There's just like different parts to it. But yeah,
Okay.
isn't that just such a lovely view of the city?
Beautiful. I mean, you get to see all the way to the ocean and you see the whole entire city. And then you see La Sagrada Familia, like boom, right in the middle.
Yeah,
Gigantic.
just looking over her domain,
Yeah,
right?
honestly. It was cool. I mean, and then we went to the Gothic Quarter at one point, which was I had never been to like a Gothic Quarter in my entire life in any city before. So that was a really cool experience, yeah. And yeah, all the food, I feel like the food was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I love, and if you like seafood, Barcelona's very well known for, because again, like I said, it's right by the water, right?
Mhm.
So they get, really, really fresh seafood, and a lot of seafood. I remember actually there was, where I took classes, the building across, there was a little seafood place. And I guess the seafood place, they would just get fresh shipments every day, and they would sell. And once they would sell all their fresh seafood, they would just end up closing. So I remember literally looking out my window and looking down to the street, and people would just line up at this shop, wait till they open and they got their shipment in, and they would wait so that they could like get their fresh seafood and stuff. And that was like
Wow.
cool to see. Yeah, Barcelona is very known for their fresh seafood, and a lot of people value that over there.
Did you have any like money issues, like current with the currency transition? I mean, had you saved up and then realized, oh, with the exchange rate, it was actually a lot less than you thought?
Right.
Or
Yeah. So just kind of, I guess, like finances in general. Yeah. Before that summer, before I went, I knew I was gonna have some money from like my scholarship, and also from whatever I got from my refund from financial aid. But also I was like, I have to obviously save up, like have my own money. And so, I just worked the whole summer, put that money away. And then so worked the whole summer, put that money away. And then I obviously, yeah, the currency exchange and the transfer. At the time, I realized I had to get a different bank account, because the bank account that I had was just from a local credit union in my area. And so I went ahead and just opened a Chase account. And I just went in there and told them my like what I was going to be doing and why I was opening the account. And they were like, and it was really nice, and it was really easy. And that's what you kind of do want to end up like, have a bank account, like the bank account that you're trying to primarily use over there. Excuse me. make sure it's like a big bank account, like Chase Bank or Wells Fargo. I know I even had some friends in my program that just opened an account with Santander, and Santander is a pretty big bank over there in Europe. I believe they even have some here in the United States.
Okay.
But what I did was I just opened an account with Chase and got a debit card, and I want to say that there may have been some like exchange fee, but to avoid like me just having all these multiple transactions on my card, what I would do is every week I would just pull out a weekly allowance from the ATM and just have that in cash, so that it avoided
That
me
is
scanning
smart. Yeah.
my card here and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I know,
Yeah.
because
So that's
sometimes even if you don't let the bank know, they'll stop your card and be like, "Where are you? What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're gonna want to let your bank know. Ideally, use a bank account that is like facilitated by a big bank like Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Santander. If you would rather just open an account with Santander, um, and then to avoid like those international transaction fees. That's what they're called, international transaction fees. Just pull out your weekly allowance from an ATM and just budget that for your week if not.
That's true. And it's an easy way to not go over your allowance too, because keep yourself on track and make sure you're not spending too much because you weren't getting any kind of income when you were over there, right? Other than like your financial aid and yeah.
No, yeah. So
So everything.
I had a fixed amount to work with, and so I was, and I'm so grateful that I had that because it really taught me how to budget my money and how to, make it last and make it stretch. Because obviously, when I was over there, like, there was things that I wanted to do. I wanted to travel and go to all these different places, and I ended up, aside from being in Barcelona and being in London, I went to France, I went to Germany, I
So
went
is
to
that all with your program or was that what you did separately with your friends?
London was with my program because that was included with my flight package. The only other trip that was a part of my program, and this was an optional trip, AIFS, this is what they do. They essentially they have like optional trips that you can choose to go on, and then they also have trips that are included within your
Okay.
fee that you pay. There was an optional trip that I went on that they had, and it was a trip to Morocco, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being over there in Morocco. I got a little taste of the African continent, if you will. But honestly,
Yeah.
I would love to go back to Africa and explore other countries within that continent because I understand from to my knowledge, all the countries are just so different. And there's just so many things to learn from each of them. And when I was in Morocco, it was so cool to find out that, they speak Arabic there. They speak French.
Hmm.
Like, and a lot of the kids grow up learning both and they're
Yeah.
both. And I just think that's so awesome and like so amazing. And just such a cool place to be in. There's just so many people there that create like artisanal things, and I just love being in Morocco. Such a cool place.
It must have been beautiful. I can't even. Didn't you ride a camel or something? Didn't you?
Yeah, I did ride a camel. Yes, I did ride a camel, and Morocco is actually very close to Spain. Like it's Morocco is like in the very northern tip of the African continent. And so there's just a very small body of water that separates Morocco from the southern part of Spain. And so they're actually very close. But I did get to ride a camel there. I remember we got to see some belly dancing.
Mm.
There was I got to listen to like some Moroccan music, some live Moroccan music, which was super, super cool. What else did we do there? Oh, I loved walking around like the Medinas, which are like this are these I don't wanna be wrong. I want to say the word was either Medina or souk, but it's like a small like town, and you know, you're walking through the town, and like there's all these like little shops and things like that where they sell like scarves, and you know, the pharmacies are there and they sell, and their pharmacies are full of things like, you know, holistic medicine, herbs and things like that, and argan oil. You know, Morocco's known for their argan oil, which, by the way, if you buy argan oil there, it is a lot cheaper than getting it over here in the United States, I will tell you that. And just seeing things like I remember we went into a rug shop, because Moroccan rugs are very like well known for like the way the materials that they use and how long they last, and just like the quality that somebody can put into something by making
so intricate too.
Very intricate.
Beautiful, yeah.
Oh my God, I only wish that you can only take so much back with you. So, you know, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, like I'm probably not gonna have room to take this, so I gotta
start shipping things home.
Yeah, I know. There were some people in my program that ended up doing that.
Really? Wow, that's crazy.
I was like, okay.
So where else did you go? And so this was a trip that you budgeted with some friends from the program, or
well, Morocco was already planned. It was a trip that I had already purchased my tickets for before, like during the summer, and so that was already that plane ticket was already bought and paid for. And so, you know, my first trip that I went on when I was in Barcelona, after being in Barcelona for about a few months, the first trip that I went on was it was Italy, and we went to Rome. And I had been in Barcelona for about a month at that point, so I was really excited to go on my first trip out of Spain. And so, oh my God, Rome was so cool. And mind you, these trips that I went on, they were like for like the weekend. So they were weekend trips. I was there for like around 2 to 3 days. So, you know, me and my roommates that had went with me on that trip, we wanted to get as much done in those 2 to 3 days as possible. And
did you fly or take a train?
So I flew. And this is one thing that I know that I learned over there while I was studying abroad, is that, you know, it's expensive to get to that side of the world, right? You know, it's, you know, the plane ticket initially is going to cost a lot, but once you're on that side of the world, and once you're in Europe, traveling to all the neighboring European countries is so affordable.
They're very lucky.
Yes, my plane ticket round trip from Barcelona to Rome, 50 euros. And mind you, the euro exchange rate to US dollars is about 1 in 1. Maybe perhaps the difference is like one euro might be worth $1.10, but other than that, like, they're pretty much like the same. And so, you know, my roommates and I, we found our plane tickets for a really good price, 50 euros round trip. And so we got over there to Rome, and we ended up finding an Airbnb that was like right by like the Vatican.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was so insane. Like, I enjoyed it so much. Just to see that in person, you know?
Oh yeah.
And to see St. Peter's Basilica, and to just be like, it was insane.
Mind's literally blown. Didn't something crazy happen there too?
Yeah. So that. And by the way, I'm not sorry. I want to say I might have missed. I don't think it's called St. Peter's Basilica. Might want to fact check that. But the Vatican, there's I want to say St. Peter's Basilica, but I may not be correct. I don't want to mess up on that. But in the Vatican, beautiful, beautiful architecture. But so aside from visiting the Vatican City, my friends and I believe our second day there, we went to go visit a little town outside of Rome, and it's called Assisi, and it's kind of like more so in the countryside, and that was really fun and beautiful to just kind of get out of like the big like touristy city.
You get a little bit of both worlds.
Exactly. And so but when we came back in, that was like our last night in Rome. Once we got back from visiting Assisi for the day, we wanted to obviously go out that night. And so we went out, and this was just in the situation, you learn a lot of things when you study abroad, and a lot of lessons that you probably, wouldn't find yourself in, or you probably wouldn't learn if you're just like at home. But, we went out, and I ended up getting my phone stolen.
It is Rome, or I guess the city close to it. It's Italy. They're known for their pickpocketers.
Yeah, yes. Not my best moment. They do, and I will say that, they do, there are some things like, you kind of do want to be aware of pickpocketers in cities that are tourists, because, they're going to target tourists primarily.
Oh, yeah. Paris, Rome, they're all known for it.
Yeah. So be vigilant of that. But, my friends and I, we were out, and I looked in my purse, and my phone was not there. And, mind you, I was, on your phone, like you have your phone case, right? And, sometimes in the back of your phone case, you like keep stuff. Yeah. When I found my phone, I was freaking out because, I had a few important cards in there. I had my Vatican ticket, from games that day. And I was like I wanted to like have that as a keepsake, but also I had my Barcelona Metro card in the back of my phone. And I was like, crap, I need that Metro card's literally supposed to, last me here. And, the Barcelona Metro card that I had, there's different ones that you can purchase. The one that I purchased was like, I believe for like 3 months, but it was going to last my whole stay there. And it was going to allow me to use the Metro however I wanted for my time there. And, so, it was expensive because it was for quite a few months. And so I was like, oh my God, I really don't want to have to shovel out the money to replace this card.
Yeah,
it was a tough night. I'm not going to lie. I lost a lot of my pictures from my Rome trip.
That stinks.
Back up your phone on the cloud, whatever you got to do. But, overall, I was glad that I had a group of friends with me that, I could use their phone and get in contact with who I needed to get in. It wasn't like I was alone, it wasn't like I took this trip alone.
True.
Because, also at the same time, like we had to get back on a plane. And so thankfully I was able to log into one of my friends' phones and pull my plane ticket up on there. Cause I don't know what would have happened if I couldn't have done that.
I know, yeah. Well, you got the real European experience then, the full European experience. You got pickpocketed, you traveled.
I was caught up in some protests.
Yeah, in Paris, right?
That was insane. Oh my gosh, and I remember telling you about those protests in Paris. They were the Yellow Jacket protests. And what were they exactly protesting for? I don't
recall. But I remember you being disappointed because you went there to see all the monuments, and because of the protests, you couldn't get too close to them. You could see them.
So basically the way it happened, my friend and I were trying to go see the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. And, this specific day, this was supposed to be the day that we were going to, get a lot done. We did end up getting a lot done, but we just weren't able to go straight up to the Arc de Triomphe and like get the picture that we wanted. Yes. It sounds very touristy and American of me to say, but
there.
Like that was my first time in Paris, and like that's what I thought we were gonna do. I was excited to get a picture by the Arc, and we're walking up to the Arc, and like I don't know why we didn't realize, but like we're walking up, and I'm noticing like there's these people like around us. In like these yellow vests, and I was like, what's going on here? But we didn't think anything of it until we were right up there by the Arc, and we saw all these like police cars surrounding, like blocking the Arc, and there's like all this smoke and smoke bombs being thrown, and people are walking around with like gas masks.
Oh my gosh!
Yellow jackets on, and we were like, we should probably go.
Let's go.
Yeah. I was able to get a pic from a distance, but that day, that was whenever the Yellow Jacket protests had started, and there was a lot of disruption in the city that day. Thankfully, for the most part, we didn't like run into that as much, because right after we went to the Arc, we ended up going to Versailles. But I remember when we were leaving the Arc, we were hearing some like smoke bombs in the background, and it was kind of
Oh my gosh.
yeah, that was a little scary. I'm not gonna lie, but you know,
I mean, that's all right in the center of France, and Versailles is a little bit kind of more on the outskirts. So
exactly.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. But I will say the protests did kind of disturb like the subways, like the transit system in Paris. So a lot of stops were like just shut down because of the protest.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember afterwards, because like in the moment we really didn't know what was going on, obviously. So later on that evening we were like looking into it, and we're like, oh my God, that's why this was happening. And we were seeing pictures of other places in the city where like there was like couches being burned in the streets, and I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, France goes wild when they protest.
Yeah. Yes, they protest.
And they never stop. They never stop, honestly. They just always have to protest something. But oh well, French politics.
And I was able to get some taste of like a lot of the politics within certain European countries. My time when I was taking it within my classes, I was taking a class on European economy, and we discussed a lot of different European politics. Really
it's very relevant.
Yeah, very relevant because, you know, at that time, you know, I arrived in Barcelona at a time where, you know, it had been a year since the Catalonian independence protest. And, you know, that was something that was really big that I learned while in Barcelona. Barcelona is specifically is within a geographic location in Spain known as Catalonia. And, you know, they speak Spanish there, but also majority of people also speak Catalan. And, you know, the people within Barcelona and within the Catalonian area, you know, they just want to be independent from Spain. So, you know, within that previous year, there was a really big protest that filled the entire streets of Barcelona, where people were protesting for the Catalonian independence. And that was really interesting to learn about and like see. You know, I feel like when it was interesting because as a whole, like as a bigger picture, you begin to see a lot of like parallels between different countries, even within the United States compared to like other countries. You start to see that a lot of these countries have a lot of the same experiences. And having a lot of
we're all protesting something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as seen with our own political climate earlier this year, and you know, with everything, it's
I know
we're always protesting something. There's always something to talk about, and we're still a young country compared to Europe, honestly. So there's a lot we have to change and do, I think. But I'm so glad that you were able to visit so many different countries and like all in one, you know, you were there for what, 4 months, 3 months in Barcelona?
3.5, 4 months. Yeah, there was just so much. Yeah. And honestly, like there was just so much that like occurred, like even within those 4 months. I feel like there was just so much that I learned. And in that time, I really just enjoyed like, again, just even like the simplest things, you know. I think something when I was reading your email earlier a few days ago when you had sent it, what did you learn about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And something that I learned about myself, you know, yes, I feel like I learned that I can adapt to a lot of different living situations and how to be flexible and how to communicate with people despite a language barrier. But I also feel like I learned that I could still be very happy and content with very little material things, because, you know, when I was there, I just enjoyed like being there and being present, being in the moment, and being in noticing my surroundings. You know, I didn't have like all these things. I didn't have everything that I was accustomed to. I didn't have like Hulu and Netflix and all that. You know, I didn't have like all these things that I have in my normal living situation. But
just like decorations in your house. I mean, you don't really even have any of that. Like it's much less materialistic.
Yeah, I was just happy with where I was and like the potential for different things and for different experiences. And, you know, I got so much pleasure just like going to like, I remember I was I just walked after class one day. I went to a Placa de España, and I just sat there and just like people watched and like ate my grapes. And honestly one of the most happiest moments of my life, like
Oh,
being.
it was really nice. I mean, Barcelona, I loved going back to food, but I loved that you could just literally walk to any cafe and get like a croissant and cafe con leche for
Yes,
€3
yes, literally. Like, and
total.
such good coffee too. Like,
I
before
know.
going to Barcelona, I didn't really have like I wasn't really a coffee person, but once I went over there and got in the habit of having a coffee and a croissant like every day before class, and it became a habit. And
And even if you do it alone, I mean, with someone alone, it's good to people watch. It's just I feel like it was so I don't know. I feel like it's just a very European thing. Like it was so just
yeah,
rejuvenating.
it is. It is. Ah, so
And
nice.
then
€1, French fries or papas fritas. They have that over there. Like there was this place that I
yeah.
go to, and it was like, um, it was over by kind of actually close by Placa de España, and no, I'm sorry, Placa de Catalunya. I'm mixing up my words. Sorry, it's been 2 years. But
It's okay.
Plaza de Catalunya, if I'm not mistaken, is right by El Corte Inglés. But adjacent to Plaza de Catalunya, there's like this little French fry place, and you can literally get like a whole cone full of French fries for like €1.
Yum.
Amazing. My friends and I, we would do this often. We would go to this little French fry place, get our €1 papas fritas, and we would put like whatever we wanted. They had like ketchup, mayonnaise, and like salsa that you can put on your papas fritas, and I would always like put ketchup and some salsa, and we would walk to this nearby museum. I forget the name of the museum. Crap. It is a well-known museum in Barcelona, but there's like a big like open plaza there in front of this museum, and a lot of locals would just go there and like skate and stuff like that. And so we would just go and hang out
Oh,
and sit down and like have a cerveza and like have our papas fritas and just like enjoy the scene.
yeah. Were the museums free there, or did you have to pay like a small fee?
Oh, well, we wouldn't go. I mean, you could go into the museum, but to just sit out there, was
Yeah, in
really
the
thing to just hang out and sit out in the plaza. Like you didn't have to pay anything.
okay.
But a lot of museums that I learned within Europe and traveling in general, because obviously when I was going to these different countries, I wanted to go to the Louvre. I wanted to go to
Hmm.
the Vatican and things like that. You can get a lot of your admission tickets for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can get more than likely you just show them your student ID. And because my study abroad program, like the classes that I was taking were with like an actual university in Barcelona. The university was autonomous. Universidad. It was called UAB, Universidad Autónoma Barcelona, or Autonomous University of Barcelona. So I had like an actual like student ID and account with them. So I would just they gave us all student IDs, and so I would just show that as my proof that I was a student.
Wow.
And
Well, that's good to know.
I went to the Louvre for free. That was like so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're probably gonna get to a close eventually, but I do want to hit on what advice you might give to other people who are thinking about studying abroad, or like your 5 great takeaways. Mix them up if you want. What was how did you feel after you came back to the States, and what would you recommend to others?
Yeah. So, let's see. When I came back to the United States, it was emotional. It was hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard coming back. I just really grew so accustomed to what I had over there, and like just my living routine and my living habits, and just like I grew accustomed to it. And so when I came back to the United States, yes, it was very emotional. I definitely experienced culture shock, and you can Google this and look into it, but it is a thing. Reverse culture shock. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
reverse culture shock. That's what it is. It's an actual thing. And I found that when I the first couple like weeks of being first couple of weeks of being back here in the United States, I would like get anxiety when I would go out into public places. Like going into a grocery store, like a Walmart or an HEB, was so anxiety inducing for me. Um, I don't know why. I just, the grocery. I don't know.
Maybe you were just expecting like something similar to Barcelona, and then you just got Texas.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was just, and maybe it was because of like, my experiences with like the different like protests I was caught in over there. I was also caught up in a Catalonian independence protest. That was a little bit more scarier than the Paris one because actually like running and kind of afraid. But yeah,
I do remember you telling me that.
Yeah, but I do remember being back in the United States. I don't know. I would just get anxiety in like public places, like going to the grocery store. Um, I am very like wary and hyper aware of like my belongings. um,
Just takes one time to learn, right?
Yeah, I learned. Oh yeah, I learned. But it also just kind of like allowed me to kind of look at everyday life a little bit more different, and I still look at it that way. And just overall, having like respect and just diplomacy for people who come from various backgrounds. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Any
I would.
advice you'd give anyone?
Man, there's like so I kind of feel like so much, but also I think I think I said it before, but I think the advice that I would give to anyone wanting to go abroad, looking into it, is that do be on top of your paperwork. That all that program stuff, all that paperwork stuff, the visa, the and getting your passport if you don't already have it. Be on top of that paperwork. If you have to do course equivalencies and make sure that your classes transfer, be on top of that as well. But aside from that whole like paperwork process and pre-departure stuff, I would say just be open. Just be open to the experiences. Don't do like too much research on your country. I think it's fine like looking into it and familiarizing yourself, but don't go in with like insane expectations. Just be open to like what the possibilities are over there. And like I said, I feel like just allowing yourself to have firsthand experiences without any preconceived ideas is going to allow you to enjoy those moments like the most. That would be the advice I give.
That's good advice. Yeah. Just enjoy your time and
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Victoria. It was very nice to hear your story once again and your side of how you did everything. I didn't know everything about your whole program, so that was good to know and good to pass along to anyone else who's interested in studying abroad.
Is great. And thank you so much, Emilie, for having me on here. It was just so great. And it was so nice because you're someone that was literally there with me whenever I was studying abroad. So you were able to relate and talk about all these things. And I'm so glad. Like I said, anyone who wants to study abroad, like it is possible. You can do it. Just I didn't come from a financial background where my parents had, could just support me in any way that I needed, like financially. Just be smart and, use your resources, and it's definitely possible.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.